I need to do is to prepare the base. The base, I need a double saucepan. If we're cooking at school, we've got double saucepans, but I'm presuming that most people don't at home because I don't have one at home. What I do if I need a double pan is I take a normal saucepan and I find a bowl that will fit in the top of it. Now this pan, I've put some water in it, but I haven't put it so deep that it touches the bottom of the bowl. I just want the steam from the water to come and heat it gently so that it's not going to overcook the base. I'm going to put the water back on just so that it's a gentle simmer, and then to begin with I'm going to put the ingredients for the base in here. So that's 125 grams of butter, 2 tablespoons of caster sugar, 2 level tablespoons of cocoa powder, and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I always prefer vanilla extract rather than vanilla essence because that's the real flavour, so it has a good depth of flavour to it. So this will take a little while for the bowl to begin to warm up, but then the butter will melt and you need to keep heating it and stirring it until the sugar dissolves in the butter. So you can see the butter there has almost melted now, but when I put the mixture against the side of the bowl I can still see and feel it's a little bit grainy. So I've got to heat it a bit more so that all the sugar will dissolve. And the water underneath, you can see there's a lot of steam coming up, but it's only boiling, simmering very gently, it's not a rapid boil. So the sugar has dissolved in this now, so what I'm going to do is add an egg to thicken it. I can crack the egg directly into there, but just to make sure I don't get any shell, I'm going to break the egg into a little dish first, make sure there's no shell, and then tip it in. And then this needs to be stirred until it begins to thicken. So when that's thickened, I'm going to take it off the pan of water and I'm going to tip in the desiccated coconut and the biscuit crumbs. So this needs to be mixed up really, really well. And then this needs to be tipped into the lined tin. And you can use the back of your spoon to spread it out evenly. Make sure you cover the whole of the base, and then use the back of the spoon to press it down really firmly. Because when you come to cut it up, you want it to all stick together, so it helps to press it down firmly. So when that's nicely compacted and a smooth layer, that needs to go in the fridge to chill while you're making the filling layer. For the filling, I'm going to start off by beating my butter until it's soft. So the butter should already be slightly soft. If you press it with your finger, it should leave a fingerprint. If it's still too hard, even if you've left it at room temperature, because it is quite cold at the moment, pop it in a microwave oven if you've got one, just for like 10 seconds to soften it. Then put that into a bowl and I'm going to whisk it. So it needs to be whisked until it goes pale in colour. When you're not using a mixer, if you're using a hand whisk like I'm using, don't try leaving it balanced on the edge of the bowl. Leave it to stand on the base of the mixer and then it won't topple over. So I'm going to scrape that butter down into the base of the bowl and I'm going to add to it 2 tablespoons, so level spoons of custard powder. So I'm tapping them against the side of the pot to make sure they're level. And then I need 250 grams of icing sugar, and I'm going to sieve this to make sure it hasn't got any lumps in it. So you can push the last bit through with your fingers. So what I also need to add to this is half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So I'm just going to fill the teaspoon measure halfway up. And 3 tablespoons of either lemon juice or milk. So I'm actually using lemon juice in mine. And then I need to beat this to get it all nice and soft. So I'm starting off on a low speed so the icing sugar doesn't fly out of the bowl. So I'm going to scrape down the bowl. And there was a little bit of butter left on my spoon, so I'm going to scrape that off as well and whisk it once more. So to clean off the whisks, lift them up so they're out of the mixture but still lower down in the bowl, and put them onto maximum speed. And that will help any excess mixture to come off them into the bowl. So you can see that this is quite smooth. It's stiff, but it's a smooth, it's a little bit like a buttercream icing. If yours is still a bit dry and crumbly, you can add a little bit of extra lemon juice or milk if it needs it, so it comes to this sort of thick consistency. And what I need to do now is I need to spread that over the base. So this is out of the fridge now and the base is nice and firm. I'm going to take my filling and scrape as much of it as you can from the bowl. And then you can either use a spoon or a small knife, or if you have one like I'm using here, a palette knife, to spread that so it's a nice even layer. So spread it right out to the corners, getting it as level as possible. So when you've got the top of it nice and level, that needs to go back in the fridge to chill now while you prepare the chocolate for the topping of it. The final layer of this is the chocolate layer, and that's dark chocolate with some butter. I'm going to start off by melting the chocolate, and either you can do it with, put the bowl over a pan of hot water the same way that we did the base, and that will melt the chocolate, or you can, if you've got a microwave oven, you can use the microwave for it. I'm going to start by putting this in the microwave for 1 minute. It's important not to overcook it because chocolate does burn very easily in the microwave. So after I've given it 1 minute, I'm then going to only do it in 20 or 30-second bursts to finish melting it. So my chocolate has started to melt. I'm just going to give it a stir. And as I said, now I'm just going to put it in for 30 seconds blasts, or when it starts to melt, maybe even 10 or 20 seconds. So that's melted quite a lot this time. So I'm just going to stir it now to see if it will melt without putting it into the microwave again. So that's nearly melted now. And I'm going to add the butter to it. So adding the butter will help to keep it soft when it's set, so you'll be able to slice through it. If you were to just spread the chocolate on the top of your Naomi bar, then you'd find it would be sort of quite brittle and it would crack when you're cutting it and you wouldn't be able to get nice squares. But the butter will help to keep it a little bit soft. So if it needs it, you can put it back in the microwave for a few seconds, but try to be patient, because if you put it back in the microwave, it's very likely to overheat it. So that's finely melted now and it's nice and smooth. So I can get the base and pour it over the base. So I've got my base and with a filling layer on it out of the fridge. So give that one more mix and then pour it over the top. And scrape out as much as you can from the bowl. And then spread that over with a palette knife. Might find it sort of helps just to tip it. And I'm just going to bang it down on the table, which will get any air bubbles out of the chocolate and help to give it a level surface. So I'm now going to leave this to set before I cut it into pieces, but I'm not going to put it back into the fridge, because sometimes if you put it in the fridge it will lose its gloss, it will be less shiny. So I'm going to leave that out at room temperature until it's set. When it's set, you can take it out of the tin and put it onto a cutting board and peel away the paper. And then you can cut it into whatever shape you want, either into little bar shapes or into squares or into triangles, depending on how you want to serve it. Just going to get a cloth, because what I do want to do is clean the knife between every time I cut it. And to get neater edges, I'm just going to trim away the edges and then clean the knife in a clean cloth before making another cut. So I find it best to use a knife with a long serrated blade. I'm just going to get rid of the end bit. And I'm going to cut it into 3 the other way. So that gives me my Naomi bar. So I'll finish cutting the rest of it and put it on a plate to serve.